War is theoretically what Ace Combat is about.
I was just a child when the stars fell from the skies. But I remember how they built a cannon to destroy them. And in turn how that cannon brought war upon us.
Conflict is a significant part of human nature. War has existed as long as society has. We don't have the patience to negotiate forever, and it's easier to get what we want through violence. And so, war is a central part of the human narrative. War is a tragedy every single time it happens, and so it's appropriate that Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies opens up with exactly that, tragedy.
One fleeing plane fell out of the skies, spiraling and spewing orange flames to crash by the Cape. The same Cape where my family lived. Now they only live in my memories of days past.
Right at the beginning, we're starting with a civilian point of view, seeing our narrator's house destroyed and parents killed as collateral damage from the vicious dogfight above. We're primed for a gripping story about what we don't normally see in these games: the chaos that happens on the ground, the ramifications of foreign occupying forces, the dynamics between an orphan child and enemy officers. Law enforcement and authorities are switched with Erusians, communications are cut off, fuel is rationed. It's a dire situation, and yet, all of this is told to you point blank. It is simply stated by the narrator like he's reading off of a grocery list. And I suppose if we want to be accurate, he is technically writing a letter as he narrates. So it's all tell, no show, is what it feels like. Although to be fair, it is shown as it's being told to you, and through an honestly poorly aged still illustration. Because of this presentation, it's difficult for me to feel much of anything about the story being presented. I'm not convinced of the stakes in what's unfolding before us, and the presentation isn't very compelling. Perhaps I'm looking at this harshly because I don't really have any nostalgia for Shattered Skies. I didn't play it back in the day. For reference, as far as feeling immersed in the storytelling, I went back to the opening cutscenes of Ace Combat 3, which came out just a couple of years before this, and its method of storytelling is a lot more compelling from the start. You're shown news segments, company ads, interviews, and you get a sense of the political situation that's unfolding before you. Meanwhile, back to 4, we still don't really know why Erusia is invading the rest of the continent, and we never will, unless you do some digging outside of the game. See, Namco did this thing where they released promotional material for Shattered Skies, in-universe newspaper articles in particular. This is really where most of the actual world building and lore comes from, instead of the game itself, which is more than a little frustrating. Especially considering that the previous game, Electrosphere, had an index of various things explaining what they were, some of which were themselves news articles. The real issue with having materials like this is that pretty much all of it was exclusively in Japanese, and we only know about all of this now because of fan translations and the internet. Back in 2001, finding any of this outside of Japan would be extremely difficult. Do y'all remember 2001? Where were you when 9/11 happened? Remember how the internet kinda sucked? Remember actually using dial-up? So I recently complained in my Ace Combat 8 trailer video that continuing to place lore outside of the game is detrimental to the player. It makes figuring out what's happening and why a lot harder by forcing you to look outside of the game. Back 25 years ago, you may have had some of this with the instruction manual that came with the game inside of the box. But for most of us playing Ace Combat 4 now, and for anyone who's new to the series playing it for the first time, chances are they're not going to have access to that. Back to the story, there's more stuff happening here that should be interesting, and yet I'm just not invested. The narrator gets close to Yellow 13, we see them being human, the local resistance makes a move, you see the impacts of the war on supply lines. All of this is very dramatic stuff, and yet the presentation is just so stiff. And most of it doesn't have a direct relation to what you do as a player. You can see the effect of what you're doing as the player, but Mobius 1 is not a character in these cutscenes. I realize that AC4 is very important to a lot of you. For most of you, this is probably one of the first games you ever played, let alone the first Ace Combat. Up until AC7, it was the best-selling entry in the series. However, I just feel so dispassionate towards the game. I want to see it more favorably, and I want to like it more, but it just feels so standard. And I suppose that should be natural because it is the standard upon which modern Ace Combat was built. At the time, yes, AC4 would have blown my mind. Not to say that the game isn't still fun, I still had fun with my time replaying it. But alas, playing the game 25 years later simply means that I've seen how far Ace Combat has come, and that is the lens through which I am forced to look at Ace Combat 4. And honestly, I'm going to leave this video here where it is. This was a tough script to work on for me. I don't really like dwelling on negative feelings towards games. You guys watching this, y'all are vocal. Tell me what it is about Shattered Skies that makes it important to you, because whatever it is, I don't have it. Thanks for watching to the end, I appreciate it. This wraps up another year on the channel, a slower year than previously, but I don't think I'm the type to just churn out slop. At least not the type of slop that is currently drowning YouTube, but I digress. I'll see you next time, whether it's Ace Combat 8 news or another look at older games or something completely different. Bye.